On a morning in 1526, the plains of Panipat were heavy with the dust and scent of blood. The mighty army of Sultan Ibrahim Lodi stood 3 miles wide and 10 miles deep against a Central Asian warrior named Babur, but Ibrahim's disciplined infantry and war elephants were no match for Babur's cavalry and artillery. The Sultan's troops were decimated. War elephants fell to towering cannons like the famous Matan, and by noon, Ibrahim was dead. The thunder of those modern cannons shattered the ancient rhythm of Indian warfare, and a new power was born. The first shots of the First Battle of Panipat not only reshaped the course of Indian history, they echoed across Eurasia, marking the arrival of gunpowder empires in India, and this is how the Mughal Empire began. After his victory, Babur brought with him the horse-riding skills of the Central Asians, gunpowder technology from Europe, and the refined culture of Persia. He divided the empire into provinces, standardized weights and measures, established postal services, and built a magnificent capital at Agra. His reign also saw the creation of the Shanara, one of the world's earliest extant illustrated manuscripts. But Babur was busy fighting multiple rebellions and died in 1530 before he could fully consolidate his rule. His son Humayun inherited a divided empire. While he was able to win back most of the territories, Humayun never really controlled Delhi, which fell to an Afghan leader named Sher Shah Suri, who founded the Suri Empire. Sher Shah was actually a servant of the Lodi dynasty. Ibrahim Lodi had appointed him governor of Sasaram, but later demoted him after accusing him of disgraced and humiliated. Suri joined a wandering Sufi order, learning military skills from Central Asian veterans. When news of Babur's death reached him, he returned to India, raised a rebellion, and seized Delhi. In 1540, Sher Shah defeated Humayun at the Second Battle of Panipat and forced him to flee to Iran. There, Humayun lived in relative luxury in the court of the Safavid Shah, Thomas B. father of Akbar. In 1555, Humayun returned to India with a small Persian army. Sher Shah died during a hunting trip soon afterwards, and Humayun recaptured Delhi in 1556, though he only reigned for 6 years. Sher Shah Suri's reforms outlasted his empire. He introduced a new efficient land revenue system, minted gold coins, and standardized weights and measures. Humayun died suddenly in January 1556 at the age of 48, falling down a flight of stairs at his new capital in Delhi. His son, the 13-year-old Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar, ascended the throne. Under the influence of his mother, the powerful regent, Muhammad Aga Akbar, embarked on a campaign to conquer all of northern India. By 1560, he ruled over most of Hindustan, or India proper, as well as Bengal and Kabul. Akbar was just getting started. As a young ruler, Akbar brought about significant changes that would lay the foundations for a golden age in Indian history. In 1564, he abolished the jizya, a non-military tax previously levied on non. This policy not only won him the support of the Hindu elite, but also provided a model for religious tolerance that would become a cornerstone of the Mughal Empire. Akbar surrounded himself with a diverse group of advisors from different religions and backgrounds, but none were more influential than Birbal, a Hindu courtier known for his wit and wisdom. Akbar continued his father's policy of dividing the empire into provinces ruled by nobles, but added a twist. He tied these grants to the loyalty of the nobility towards him personally, rather than to their hereditary lands. This system, called Mansabdari, ensured that the interests of the central government and the provincial governors were aligned. Akbar also streamlined the tax collection process and increased agricultural production through new water management techniques such as building large storage tanks to conserve rainwater. He reformed the army, introducing European firearms and adding a standing artillery force. But his greatest legacy was the creation of a vast, stable, and multicultural empire. Throughout his reign, Akbar worked tirelessly to bring Rajput warriors into his service, integrate Persian artists and scientists into his court, and patronage Bengali poets such as the legendary Kavi Sri Chandidas. His court became a melting pot of cultures, where Persian, Central Asian, and Indian traditions blended to create something entirely new. This fusion was most evident in the arts, where Mughal painters developed a unique style that incorporated elements of Chinese painting, Islamic calligraphy, and Indian miniature art. They produced exquisite works depicting scenes from everyday life, portraits of the imperial family, and elaborate illustrations of fantastical creatures and plants. Sadly, Akbar's son Jahangir did not share his father's commitment to religious tolerance or administrative efficiency. Nevertheless, Jahangir was a patron of the arts, and his court was filled with talented artists and poets. He commissioned the construction of magnificent buildings, including the famous Shalimar Gardens in Lahore and Kashmir. But Jahangir's reign was marked by factionalism and corruption. In 1627, Jahangir fell ill, possibly due to mercury poisoning, and became increasingly erratic and paranoid. He imposed harsh taxes to fund his lavish lifestyle and launched a disastrous campaign into the Deccan. In his final years, he appointed his wife Nur Jahan as regent, angering many members of the nobility. Eventually, Jahangir's son Khurram seized power. Khurram changed his name to Shah Jahan, meaning King of the World, and moved the capital to a new city in 1638. Shah Jahan continued his father's policy of expanding the empire and launched a series of campaigns into the Deccan. He also made efforts to improve the lives of his subjects by building public works such as the famous Taj Mahal, the Red Fort, and Jama Masjid. But Shah Jahan's reign was not without its problems. He faced revolts from his own family, including a near-fatal attack by his brother Dara Shikoh, who wanted to succeed him. He also had to contend with the rising power of the Marathas in the Deccan. But Shah Jahan's greatest mistake was perhaps his decision to wage a protracted and costly war against his old ally, the Qutb Shahi dynasty of Golconda. This conflict weakened the empire and provided an opportunity for his son, Aurangzeb, to seize power in 1658. Aurangzeb was a brilliant military commander, and he quickly put down rebellions within the empire. He also launched a series of campaigns to expand Mughal rule into southern India. At the height of his power, Aurangzeb ruled over a vast territory that stretched from Kabul in the west to the Godavari River in the east. However, Aurangzeb's reign was also marked by religious intolerance. He reimposed the jizya tax, launched attacks on Hindu temples, and actively promoted Islam. These policies alienated many of his subjects and contributed to the decline of the empire. Aurangzeb's Deccan wars were long and costly and ultimately failed to achieve their objectives. The constant warfare drained the treasury and exhausted the army. Moreover, Aurangzeb's obsession with territorial expansion led him to neglect the administration and the welfare of his subjects. In the meantime, various groups such as the Marathas, Sikhs, and Rajputs began to challenge Mughal rule. By 1680, Aurangzeb's health was failing, and he spent much of his remaining time in campaigns against the Sikhs. Aurangzeb died in 1707, at the age of 73, having reigned for 55 years. His empire was already in decline, and his death would only hasten its demise. The last great Mughal emperor left behind a weakened and divided empire. His successors were weak and ineffective, and the real power lay in the hands of ambitious ministers and provincial rulers like those of Bengal, Hyderabad, and Awadh. The Sikhs, Marathas, and Rajputs continued to resist Mughal rule, and the emperor became little more than a figurehead. To make matters worse, foreign invaders saw the weakness of the mules and took advantage of it. Nadir Shah of Iran plundered Delhi in 1739 and stole the peacock throne. Taking with him countless treasures from the Red Fort, Ahmad Shah, Abdali, raided India several times in the 1740s and 1750s, inflicting heavy losses on the mules and their allies. By the middle of the 18th century, the Mughal Empire was a shadow of its former self. The British East India Company had gained control of most of the trade and was tightening its grip on India. In 1757, the Battle of Plassey marked the beginning of British dominance in India. And after the Battle of Buxar in 1764, the Mughal emperor was reduced to a puppet of the British. The last attempt to revive the Mughal glory came in 1857 with the Revolt of 1857. Bahadur Shah Zafar, the last Mughal emperor, was proclaimed the leader of the revolt, but it was brutally suppressed by the British. In 1858, Bahadur Shah Zafar was exiled to Rangoon, Myanmar, where he died in 1862. The Mughal flag was lowered from the ramparts of the Red Fort and an era came to an end. Even though the Mughal Empire lasted only for 185 years, its impact on Indian history was profound. It established a strong centralized state in India and introduced many administrative systems and cultural achievements that influenced later empires. Its architectural legacy, including the Taj Mahal, the Red Fort, and Jama Masjid, continues to amaze visitors from around the world. Its administrative system, courts, and cultural achievements have inspired generations of Indians, and its story continues to be told and retold in books, films, and TV shows. So even though no empire lasts forever, the memory of the mules will live on. If you enjoyed this video, you might also enjoy our other content on the history of India. Thanks for watching.